Today, we're going to unpack the epic and often turbulent story of modern China. It's an incredible tale of how a reclusive empire, shattered by the outside world, completely transformed itself into a global superpower. This is a story of struggle, of revolution, and total reinvention.
This quote really gets to the very heart of it all. For more than a century, one single question has driven China's entire story. How does a nation, a civilization that's been shattered by outside forces and torn apart by internal chaos, reclaim its place in the world, figure out who it is, and build its own vision of what it means to be modern?
To really understand the shock of this period, you have to get a picture of what came before. For centuries, the Qing dynasty ruled this vast empire that saw itself as the Middle Kingdom, literally the center of the civilized universe. It was self-sufficient and, in its own eyes, culturally superior to all the so-called barbarians outside its borders.
And right here, this is the collision course. On one side, you have the Qing dynasty's absolute belief in its own superiority. And on the other, you have the British Empire, powered by the Industrial Revolution and absolutely desperate to fix a massive trade deficit because they just couldn't get enough Chinese tea. Their solution? Opium.
This clash of worlds wasn't some polite debate, it was a war, and for China, it was a totally catastrophic defeat. Historians often call this the impact-response model. You have the sudden, violent impact of Western military might, which completely shattered China's sense of order and forced a painful, difficult response.
And what followed were these so-called unequal treaties. China was forced to give up territory, like Hong Kong. It had to open its cities to foreign merchants. It even had to legalize the very drug that started the whole conflict. But maybe the worst part was extraterritoriality, which meant foreigners on Chinese soil were not subject to Chinese law. The takeaway here is crucial. This was a staggering, humiliating loss of sovereignty.
So did that initial shock lead to a quick recovery? Not even close. Instead, it kicked off nearly 100 years of chaos. China found itself wrestling with massive internal rebellions and repeated foreign interventions, all while desperately, frantically searching for some way to save itself.
And the decline was just relentless. First, a huge internal rebellion, the Taiping, which killed millions and almost toppled the dynasty. Then, a shocking military defeat to a newly modernized Japan, which proved their own reforms were just not working. A radical attempt at change was crushed by conservatives inside the court. And finally, a desperate anti-foreign uprising, the Boxer Rebellion, ended with foreign armies marching through Beijing. Again.
By 1911, the dynasty was finished. The Xinhai Revolution didn't just end the Qing, it brought down over 2,000 years of imperial rule in China. The emperor was gone, but the chaos? Well, that was just getting started.
See, getting rid of an emperor is one thing, but building a stable nation is something else entirely. The brand new Republic of China completely failed to unite the country. Without a strong central government, China just fractured into pieces run by powerful, competing warlords, all while foreign powers kept meddling. The chaos just continued.
Now, out of this total political vacuum, two powerful new forces emerged, and each one offered a radically different vision for China's future. This was it. This set the stage for a decades-long battle for the very soul of the nation.
Okay, so on one side you had the Kuomintang, or KMT, the nationalists. They were led by Chiang Kai-shek, and their support came mainly from the cities, from the business elites. On the other side, you had the Chinese Communist Party, or CCP, under Mao Zedong. And Mao did something brilliant. He adapted Marxism to China's reality, building his power base not with factory workers, but with China's massive rural peasantry.
These two sides were already locked in a brutal civil war, but everything, and I mean everything, changed when Japan launched a full-scale invasion in 1937. The nationalist government had to do most of the conventional fighting, and they were devastated by it. Meanwhile, the communists mastered guerrilla warfare out in the countryside. It was incredibly effective against the Japanese, and it won them enormous support among the common people.
After Japan's defeat in 1945, the Civil War fired right back up. And this time, the communists won, and they won quickly. In 1949, Mao Zedong stood in Beijing and declared the new People's Republic of China. And his goal? It wasn't just to reform China. It was to tear it down and remake it completely, from the ground up.
So Mao launched a series of just breathtakingly ambitious and radical campaigns. First, land was seized from landlords and collectivized. Then came the Great Leap Forward, a chaotic and frantic attempt to rapidly industrialize the country overnight. And finally, The Cultural Revolution, a violent, decade-long purge of all old ideas, all traditions, and anyone deemed an enemy of the revolution.
And the consequences of all this? They were monumental. Yes, Chinese society was transformed forever, but the cost was immense. Mao's policies led to horrific economic disruption, a famine that killed tens of millions, brutal political purges, and it left China almost completely isolated from the rest of the world.
After Mao died in 1976, China was at another huge crossroads. What happened next was a pivot so dramatic, so unexpected, it would once again reshape the country and, this time, the entire world.
The architect of this unbelievable change was a man named Deng Xiaoping. He was a practical, veteran revolutionary who had survived Mao's purges, and he knew that radical ideology had failed to make China strong or prosperous. So in 1978, he set China on a completely new path with a simple, pragmatic slogan: reform and opening up.
I mean, just look at this comparison. The reversal was absolute. The old Maoist model of isolation and rigid central planning, thrown out. In its place came global engagement, embracing market forces, and creating these special economic zones specifically designed to attract foreign money and technology.
So what do you even call this strange new hybrid system? Well, the party gave it a name: socialism with Chinese characteristics. And really, it's a system that masterfully combines two things you wouldn't think go together: the Communist Party's absolute, iron-fisted political control with the dynamic, wealth-creating power of a market economy guided by the state.
And the results of this pivot? Well, this chart says it all. The results were simply staggering. In just a few decades, China unleashed the most explosive economic growth in human history, lifting hundreds of millions of people out of poverty and transforming itself from an isolated, poor nation into the world's second-largest economy.
So if we boil this whole incredible story down, what are the crucial takeaways? First, modern China was made by violent revolution, not by slow, gradual reform. Second, foreign imperialism, as devastating as it was, also lit the very fire of Chinese nationalism that would eventually kick the foreigners out. And finally, you have to remember that China's communist revolution was totally unique. It was won in the countryside by peasants, not in the cities by factory workers.
Which brings us right back to where we started, to that fundamental question. After a century of humiliation, chaos, and radical transformation, has China finally achieved the goals it fought so hard for? Has it regained its sovereignty, redefined its identity for the 21st century, and finally achieved its own unique vision of modernity? That right there is the question that defines China today.